Hey, Gabriel.
Hey, Gaybros, Jose.
Where are we today?
I'm sitting at home, San Francisco.
Are you looking at me like so surprised for something?
No. I was like, I wonder. I should go record from Edinburgh Castle. It'll be empty anyway.
That's true, but the music, the music, it doesn't matter. It's more like that AC that they have on the smoking room is as loud as it gets. I've never heard an AC just asking for mercy to put out of their suffering in any kind of intense way as that one. But yeah, I'm in Chicago. We are enjoying a decent weather day. I think there is 22 degrees today, Celsius, human.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It was like 75 or 80 today, and when I got home, my house had heated up so much that it was 78 inside, which I know is not insane, but it's insane for San Francisco.
Yeah, 78 it starts being the hot days.
Yep.
This is miserable. Yeah. You guys need that 100 day.
I have an industrial size air conditioner, so bring it on.
Okay. So what did we watch this time?
This was my pick. I chose the 2009 film called Lebanon, which is actually an Israeli film.
Oh, it's Israeli. I didn't realize about that. Okay. And why did you pick this?
I picked this for a number of reasons. I'm a little bit not obsessed. I'm obsessed with the war in Ukraine. I am very pro-Ukraine, but not but. And at the beginning of the war, we heard all these stories about these poor conscripted Russian soldiers who were told they were going on some sort of training exercise, and then all of a sudden they're fighting a war that they didn't understand and didn't believe in. And we don't know if they didn't believe in it, but we were told they were lied to. Anyway, I just remember this as being a very compelling look at a war that young men were kind of forced into fighting without having the ideals that maybe their governments have. And I remember this being a fantastic film, but I saw it in theaters in 2009, so I wanted to revisit and see if I still felt that way.
No, that's completely fair. I didn't know anything about this movie, so it got me a bit by surprise. But about the synopsis, basically this follows the war on Lebanon, that it was basically an Israeli partially invasion towards the Lebanon, and all of it takes place on the first couple of days of that war, and it follows the action from the perspective of a tank and the people operating it. Of course, no one has previous war experience. It looks like they got random people more than anything else, random kids. One of them was going to be about graduating. One of them misses his mother a lot. And we see most of the war we see through the lens of the canyon.
All of it.
Yeah.
The entire movie takes place inside the tank except for the opening shot and the ending shot.
Yeah. So we see that. So everything that is happening around is basically the camera just moving with crosshair. It's called. Just pretending that they are just the aiming lens for the tank, and as you were saying, the rest of it is from inside, supposedly from the inside of the tank, and then at the end is that there is a bit more of the tank gets damaged. I'm not going to go into too much detail into every specific a scene, and then supposedly they surface. There is a bit more of a closing the circle situation, that the first shot and the last shot are almost the same.
Yeah.
With the difference that the tank is there. And that's the first time at the end when we see the tank from outside. But we never see absolutely anything of the tank. We only see just people fighting, and we are compelled to appreciate the rawness and the cruelty of war, of this kind of invasion.
Yeah, I agree. Are you still summarizing? Because I'm jumping right in.
No, just coming.
First off, so I want to be clear, the film doesn't get into it doesn't really get anything about the historical reason this war happened. It's not about any of that. It's about these 4 young men, and there are a couple visitors to the inside of the tank, including a commanding officer, a dead body, a Syrian prisoner. But it's not examining this is what happened in history. It's just saying, hey, when young men with morals are put into war, they're put into morally ambiguous situations and life and death situations, and their bosses aren't always telling them the full truth, and that's what it's about. But because I was researching this actual war today, I find the similarities to what Russia's doing to Ukraine remarkable. And in fact,
wasn't the invasion wasn't it just cause because there were some Palestinian cells that they were attacking from Lebanon, and it says that, oh yeah, we're going to be invading the Lebanon.
Yes, and so Israel called it Operation Peace for Galilee, and Lebanon fucking calls it the Great Invasion or something, because it's such a bullshit propaganda title.
Yeah.
And they lied to their soldiers. They said, look, you just need to go do this quick mission, and then you're gonna have breakfast in Saint-Tropez, which is hilarious. And then we're gonna go on to the next mission, and we just see these 4 young men they're forced to again deal with these morally ambiguous situations where their lives are at stake. And there's this the opening action sequence. There's 2 kind of situations that show, I think, the moral ambiguity of the choices made during war remarkably well. And I don't know how in detail we want to get, but essentially the tank is supposed to blow up a car that they assume is terrorists, but the guy doesn't want to kill anyone, so he doesn't, and they are terrorists, and then Israelis die. And the next time they say, shoot this car, and he does, and it was just a farmer with chicken.
Yep.
And I just feel like that captured, I don't know, the horror super well. And it struck me, the tank has 4 people in it, which most tanks do. They have a driver, a triggerman, a loader, and a commanding officer, I think.
Yeah,
or
that's correct. Commander officer. Yeah.
So the guy that's supposed to pull the trigger, what's his name? Shmulik? Hold on, I have it right here. Yeah, Shmulik. He's the guy that's having to make the decision to kill people or obey orders. And it's just horrifying. The guy who wrote and directed this was Shmulik in real life. So this is what he experienced as a young man fighting a war he didn't understand against Syrians that they didn't even know were in Lebanon. It's just mind-blowing, this to me.
So he actually was part of this invasion?
Yes.
Huh. Okay. I didn't know that part. That's interesting. What is I going to say? I have a question that usually would ask way much later, but do you think that this could be put on the stage of a theater play?
100%. I mean, there would have to be some sort of visuals to show or to express the action happening outside the tank.
Yeah.
Whether that be a projection screen or something, but the stage could just be the inside of the tank and these 4 guys talking and basically losing their mind and losing their morals. And I mean, they don't go crazy, but they're under a tremendous amount of stress and they kind of crack a little bit.
Well, I mean, I think that the commanding officer breaks a bit towards the end. Yeah, and it's true that how do you say, the driver, I think that it is, I couldn't stand the character.
Why?
Because there are several times that he goes into this kind of panic mode or under shock, and he's not doing anything. It's he doesn't have any kind of survivability instincts.
Agreed. And there's a scene where the tank takes some damage. In fact, the tank continues to fall apart as the movie goes goes on, which, you know, obviously is a metaphor for the mental state of these four men and war or whatever. But the driver's like told to start the tank, which apparently starts like a car, and sometimes you have to push the gas a bunch.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't compute how to turn on the tank when they were super in danger and being shot at. And I was like, it annoyed the shit out of me. But then I also thought, like, we're watching these four men react to war in different ways. And do you think that was believable?
I don't.
No?
I don't. I mean, because he already had like a panic moment earlier when he was like, well, this doesn't start. Let's just evacuate. And it's like, no, this is how you start a tank. Just do it. Just do it. And then it's like, oh, I don't know what to do. It's like, you just did it like 10 minutes ago. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's like, now it's like, it's your life. What is in the line? It's not only your life, it's everyone else's life that is on the line. And I just felt it's like, I understand that you're like trying to make a point about like these characters like just breaking, you know, just like falling apart. But some scenes for me, they were like too much on the nose. There was like this scene when they're like in the travel agency that you see, I don't know, what is the first? Oh, Paris. You see the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
And then I think that it shows like Buckingham Palace or the Big Ben or whatever, the Big Ben. And then it shows like the Twin Towers in New York. And when we saw like the first one, the Eiffel Tower, and it says like, oh, we are in the travel agency, I told my boyfriend, they're going to be like showing like 2 or 3 countries, you know, and then we're going to be like just having like a zoom out, and we will see like the devastation of war compared to these like idyllic scenarios about like the Western world, and just see the contrast. It didn't feel, I'm going to be like completely honest, I don't think that it's a bad movie by any means, but everything felt really on the nose. And the resource of using the crosshair of the tank for just observing like the desolation and the destruction of war is a good idea on paper, but the execution require a lot of suspension of disbelief.
So first off, I want to go back to, they also show the World Trade Centers.
Twin Towers. Yeah.
Yeah, is that what did you say that? Sorry.
I said the Twin Towers, you know, and at that point I actually thought, it's like, look, on these 3 cities there have been like ton of terrorist attacks. And a part of me was thinking is like, these 3 cities are like part of countries that they have supported Israel.
But don't you think that's the point?
I think that that's the point, and I feel like it's like, okay, you know, it's like, maybe it's like that kind of thing. Not so much about like the Twin Towers, but it's a bit more like, it's New York. Here there was like a pretty famous, you know, like terrorist attack. What about if it's a bit more of a reflection into, it's like this Western world like got involved in supporting a Middle Eastern country for just allowing them to do like whatever the fuck they wanted, and then sometime later they got payback in the shape of terrorist attacks.
Yeah, for me, I hear that it might not have worked for you, but there is a lot. Like, there's like these men wanting to be in other places that isn't this war they're being forced to fight. There's also like horrible things have happened in all those cities. Those countries have funded wars. It's actually interesting. I went deep into the history in like 1980, and they referenced this at the very beginning of the movies. There's an international convention that agreed not to use phosphorus grenades because they cause horrific burns that I wish I hadn't have Googled at work. 88 countries signed that convention agreeing not to use phosphorus bombs. Guess who didn't sign it?
Israel.
America. And America has used phosphorus grenades apparently only to light up or shroud, like not on civilians, like this. I know. I was horrified. Whatever. And then I found out that Russia's using phosphorus grenades in Ukraine right now.
Oh, right now? Wow.
Yeah. Like I can't even go into how much this film echoes what's happening in Ukraine, but regardless, you said it was too on the nose for you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to go back to what you said, like looking through the
crosshairs.
In my opinion, it worked really well. One, because the shots we see are incredibly beautiful. I mean, they're grotesque and horrific and of war, but it does give this framing device that I thought was very interesting. But it served a second purpose where we're supposed to feel as lost and as betrayed as these four young men are. And the fact they're getting these incredibly ambiguous orders by radio and they're only able to see through this, these tiny, I don't know, telescope is what you used. I don't know the term. Let's use that. I felt like it added a lot to the claustrophobia of what these four men were experiencing. So I hear, yeah, it might not have worked for you. It worked for me wonderfully.
Yeah. No. I mean, the thing is that I see what he's trying to do. I like that's the part that I felt like there's a bit of peace, but it's like he was not accepting the constraints of the medium. You know, he was using it as a bit more of a device per se. Is like otherwise he couldn't be like just pulling out like 99% of the takes that he does. Is that when he applies like these zooms and then there is like a close-up, it's like no, in 82 you are not going to be like getting these out of the telescope of a tank.
No, I didn't think about that. I did think a few times about what technology would be like, but I didn't think about that. I know nothing about tanks except no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Just finish it.
I was going to say that Russia bought all these tanks that are smaller and they were supposed to be incredibly powerful and safe for the people operating them, but they're just breaking apart like crazy because they're smaller. They have auto loaders just loading the shells automatically. So they only three crew instead of four, but because they wanted the tank to be smaller, they removed the safety wall between the men and the shells, and so like the tanks and the Russian tanks in Ukraine are just like blowing up and killing everyone inside them because they took out the safety measures.
It's pretty Russian.
There's a Times article about this last week before I saw the movie, and I was like, I know about tanks.
That's a pretty Russian thing to do, I feel.
And they bought the tanks from China.
No surprise. No surprise about any of these. No, I mean the thing is like I with war movies, I just feel like if you're going to be like doing something like this, this is a pretty low budget movie. I don't know what was the budget, but it had to be a very low budget movie.
Yeah,
extremely. I mean, you only see like the tank once at the end. Like 80% of the movie, 70% of the movie is that these four guys in a small studio. That is the tank, and then like the remaining 30% is just through the crosshairs, so you control a lot of what you want to show. There are no like open places. I mean, the only one is like when they're fighting at the beginning, you know, like they're shooting the car, but beyond that there is nothing. I mean, that's the reason what I feel is that I think that I could be more interested in seeing this as an experimental theater play than just a full-fledged movie. That is true. It's like it's on the nose. It's a conflict that I didn't know absolutely anything about. I also read like a bit about it, and I felt it's like, well, I'm going to be like saying something. Sorry to the audience. It's a bit like Israel being Israel.
Let's not get political, Jose. Come on.
I'm not talking.
I'm not disagree with you. I think it's.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not talking about like an anti-Semitism kind of perspective, but it's like Israel hasn't been like the best neighbor.
Oh no, it's horrific.
And the thing is that they haven't been like the best neighbor, and they have like a significantly more founded, you know, like military force that allows them to do stuff like this.
So I just looked it up. The budget was 1.4 million, and there are a few scenes, particularly the scenes outside of the tank, where you can say, well, this is a very small, focused set. But I would say it's not distracting, and there are some impressive visuals of explosions. Not that this isn't a like action film, but like there were some scenes that felt real, like when the family was being held hostage on the second floor. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember that scene. I was going to be like saying something about it. I remember like when I saw it, roll a bit my eyes for something, but I don't remember what. Oh yeah, I think that there was like a bit more of a comedy factor to it. That the first thing that you see is the husband like just like screaming, and then you see like a terrorist, and then like the next scene is like the terrorist like holding the woman. The next scene is that the terrorist holding the woman with the husband next to it. The next scene is that the terrorist holding the woman with the husband screaming at her feet and a girl next to it. And the next scene is that the terrorist holding the woman with the husband, the kid, and someone on a wheelchair. This feels like a ridiculous escalation of the situation.
That is not how I remember it all. I remember the terrorist holding the dad hostage, and then the little girl running to protect her dad, and then the mom chasing after the kid to pull her back, and then they kill the dad and hold the mom hostage. And
we can rewind.
Then the tank kills the girl.
But didn't you see like the wheelchair too?
The what?
The wheelchair.
I don't recall a wheelchair.
Just if you can still like rewatch it, is like just watch it. That is scene because I felt is like I understand that it's about like just creating impact, but it gets to a point that it almost feels like you're doing a joke, almost like just adding like one more factor to the scene.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia article. This won the Golden Lion at Venice.
Oh, cool. That's nice. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's a bad movie.
No, sorry. I just meant, shouldn't this be a more well-known film, in my opinion? Or maybe it just won the award and wasn't that good. I think it's...
I know, I had the feeling that you loved it, you know? But I had the feeling that we cared like way more for Palme d'Or winners than the Venice Lion.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, there have been like times that I actually have gone back and it says, hey, who won Cannes that year? I never check who won Venice at all.
Neither do I. But it's also not uncommon for me to go look at the list of Palme d'Or winners and having never heard of some of those films.
That's fair. But at the same time, is that you think that is like there is going to be like something out of this, and the thing is like you check them. But with Venice, it's almost like just thinking about like the film festivals from Spain. It's like, yeah, they exist. I'm going to be like checking the winner. Nope. Am I going to be like checking like the Sundance winners? Probably not either.
But that's a good point. Like 1 year you won't have heard of what won at Sundance, and then the next year it'll be Reservoir Dogs.
True, but how many times did that happen?
It happened quite a few times. Like, Well, so there was Sex, Lies, and Videotapes that launched Soderbergh, Reservoir Dogs. There was Beast of the Southern Wild that got nominated for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that's gonna. Anyway, I get your point. Yes. Are we gonna check who won at Sundance this year? But somebody. Oh, last year it was that film about the Death Family.
Death Family.
Death Family that won the Oscar for.
Oh God, that's right, and it's actually why Apple bought the rights for that movie.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah, we don't pay attention to Venice as much as like I pay attention to.
Yeah. No, but I think that Sundance sometimes may be a bit closer to the American sensibility of what may win Oscars.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's true. No, I would say that's very true.
I mean, Whiplash won like the Grand Jury Prize.
Oh, wow. Didn't J.K. Simmons win? Yeah, he won for that. He won an Oscar.
Yeah, that movie's good.
Yeah, I liked it.
But yeah, no, I think that Cannes, I respect them for just being a bit more out there. A bit more about like we really appreciate it. Yeah, it's more artistic. You're absolutely right.
Sundance is built to sell films specifically, not like honor the artistic merits of. I mean, again, Top Gun 2 just aired at Cannes today, so it's not like Cannes is this completely integral part of the arts.
Wait. Are you telling me that it was part of the official selection?
No, I think it's part of the one where the studios kind of like I mean, that Dan Brown novel, the Da Vinci Code, screened it.
In the official selection,
I don't think so. It got booed, by the way.
it didn't get like a 10-minute ovation, a standing ovation. I mean, the thing like just seeing Short Bus, but that was in Sundance.
Yeah, that was a Sundance film.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Now I'm curious about like the 3,000 Years of Longing.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, because I like Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton, and George Miller. I like Mad Max.
I do too. Do you remember that it got nominated for Best Picture?
I think so.
I don't remember that.
I think that I remember it. I remember like just saying is like this is probably like one of the best as a movie. I think that is like the best blockbuster ever, or in a very long time, because it's a 100% blockbuster, but it feels like it's really well made.
I think you're forgetting about Jurassic Park.
In a very long time. I specify in a very long time. And dude, I'm sorry to tell you, Jurassic Park was a very, very long time ago.
That's fine.
Yeah. But about
anyway, we strayed way far from
Lebanon. Yeah, definitely. So I like it. I didn't suffer like watching it or anything like that. I just felt like the limitations of what they were like their medium, that it was like completely self-imposed. For me, it pushed me away from what it was supposed to be, the emotional payoff.
So would you call it a gimmick?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And I would call it a device. And I think it worked for me and it just didn't work for you as well.
But what I think is like it's a bit more about the execution per se, because I can actually see this like just being like a good device. But for me, it just felt like, look, if you're going to be like doing this, you have to try to make it as realistic as possible. I want like the grimy aspects of it, you know, and just the limitation. Just give me, they don't have like the full picture. They don't have like this, like, hey, I have like any angle that I want, you know, I can do zooms, I cannot do zooms. It's like, no, just give me that, the kind of feeling of being lost on this reality.
I hear your arguments, and evidence to back it up. I just feel like, again,
it didn't matter.
No. It worked for me. Like, the attempts were solid and made me feel things, and apparently it didn't for you.
Yeah, no. And honestly, I respect it. You know, I 100% respect it. It's like for me, it was just frustrating because it was like, it's not bad. There is nothing wrong with that. It's like I appreciate that someone is like trying to do like a spin like this, you know, because when you were telling me it's like it is like dashboard but in a tank, I was expecting a bit more of a budget, you know, because this could be a tank, like it could be this room.
Oh no, I just meant it takes place inside a thing, the entire thing.
Yeah, basically the only time that we see is on the last scene, and probably it's even like just like something made with how do you say, like a cardboard.
I wanted to look up when Buried was released, because I'm like, I bet the guy who made Buried was like, look at Lebanon, let's do that with Ryan Reynolds in a grave.
Don't speak shit about the guy that made
Buried came out in 2010. Come on.
And this movie came out when, in 2009? A year is not enough for that. I don't think that there is like there is no direct inspiration. And don't mock the only director from my home area that is popular.
Yeah, I liked Buried.
Okay, maybe we should watch Buried.
He's from Galicia?
He's from Orense, if I recall correctly.
Oh. Dude is handsome. Is this him? Sorry.
Yeah, I see. Yep. Thank you.
He looks like that famous soccer player everyone likes.
I don't know. But yeah, he's from a small village in Orense. So not that far away from my hometown.
It's also interesting to remember that this was kind of the peak. So first off, this is a time when Israeli film kind of had like a reawakening, and it started to produce some really good stuff. And apparently, they're very obsessed with this specific war. But it's also a time when it was kind of the peak time for American films about Iraq. So this was like the time of.
You know, that 30.
No, I think that was after, but this was The Hurt Locker. Repo, which was a documentary that was very well received. So it's just interesting to consider what was happening in the world at that time and how it impacted things. And yeah, it was interesting. And it was an hour and 97 minutes, I think, with credits. It's a fairly succinct film, so at least you're not stuck in that tank with piss and shit and blood too long.
No, that's true. Should we go over the questions?
Let's do it.
Okay. Will you watch it again?
Yeah. In a couple years.
I don't think so. I don't think that I will watch it again. I think that it's like if they're playing it on TV, maybe I would stay, but I don't think that is like one of those that I would go like out of my way for rewatching it.
Did you watch this with your boyfriend?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Did he like it?
Yeah. I think that we both finished the movie like a bit cold. You know, a bit more about like it was just a way of actually like passing time. It has like higher aspirations, but they don't materialize for us. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, I would recommend it to you even.
Well, that's true because you had already like just watching it was. For me, I cannot think about like any situation where I would actually recommend it. You know, not because it's bad. I mean, if someone asks me, it's like, would you watch Lebanon? It's like, yeah, why not? You know, you haven't watched it, just watch it once, and maybe for you it works. But I don't think that if someone asks me about like, hey, recommend me like a war movie, I'll be like, Apocalypse Now.
Ooh, that's a good question. What war movie would I recommend? Let's think about that. Bring that up at a later date. I asked because I very much enjoyed this film. I think it's good. I don't like war movies. Like, it's really hard for me to watch them. It's not like when I see them and I see that it's good, I'm like, okay, that's a good movie. But it's really hard for me to get excited to watch one. So anyway,
I mean, the thing is like, I just feel like the topic that this movie treats, we have seen in many other war movies. And Apocalypse Now.
I just don't buy it. Like, those men knew who they were fighting and where they were and why they were there. And I think the big point about this is these young men were just, all of a sudden they said, hey, we're in war now. And they're like, why the fuck are we fighting Syrians in Lebanon? Why are there Syrians here? Like, that's the point, is that they were tricked into this or forced into this, basically. And that's what this film explores that other films don't.
Being forced into a war.
I mean, that one dude is like, well, but wait, I get discharged in 2 weeks. And they're like, oh, no, you're in war now. Like, they had no idea this was happening. And it's them struggling for a day, trying to figure out, hey, why aren't they telling us the truth? Why are there Syrians here? Who are the I don't know that word, phalangists, which apparently are Arab Christians.
Yeah. I didn't know that because phalangist is a term that we use in Spanish for hyper right-winged people.
Oh, interesting. A phalange is a finger in English.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, there are good war movies, but I do think this has a unique angle that I haven't seen before.
I only see the gimmick of the tank, honestly.
No, not the gimmick. The whole.
I know. I know that for you it's a bit more about like, hey, these young people are just thrown into a conflict that they don't understand. It's like unique. I had a feeling that I've seen like stuff like that before. You know, because to some aspect is that some of the folks in in Apocalypse Now is that they are fighting a war that they don't want to fight. You know, and they just get out. Sorry.
I can differentiate them in my head, but right now my mind is combining the Deer Hunter with Apocalypse Now. I'm like, wait, Meryl Streep was in Apocalypse Now, right? No, she wasn't.
No, at least not in my version. But yeah, in any case, it's fine. I don't think that I would recommend it because exactly what I said is like I just feel they're like more meaningful, transcendental war movies out there. I would even recommend like A Tournament as a war movie.
I don't think you could compare any epic scale war movie because that's not the point of this. It's not looking at the entire conflict. It's just looking at several hours in the life of 4 young men. It doesn't talk about why, you know, all that history we discussed. They don't even address it. So like comparing it to a World War II film, just it's like maybe if the World War II film was like 5 hours spent on the beach. Like
what about Dunkirk then?
I didn't see Dunkirk, so I can't speak to it. But as I understand it, it's enormous and that's the one with 3 stories.
Yeah, it's the one with the 3 stories. And besides that, it's like Christopher Nolan, and you know how he likes to do like characters don't matter, and this is a bit more about like the characters per se. Okay, thinking about it, I may do like a couple of series later and just pin you with some like examples of it.
Yeah, please do.
Could you remember it?
Not well, but yes.
Okay.
Like specifics of the plot, no, but I've never forgotten this film.
Okay, because it's the second time, yeah. I honestly don't think that I would remember like much more than there is a tank. And they saw like half of the movie through the crash cars.
Oh.
And even with that, I'm still like doubting. I mean, someone would have to tell me, do you remember Lebanon? And I say, wait, what? Yeah, the movie with the tank. It's like at that point I would remember. But I won't remember like what was the conflict. For sure.
The man versus...
No,
man.
I mean like, no. I mean like the invasion of the Lebanon by the Israeli force, you know. I mean, I would just think it's like it takes place in the Lebanon, but probably I'm not going to remember that, they are Israelis like invading the Lebanon. Is there anything artistic about it?
It's weird because I like this movie and the answer I think is, I guess the answer is no.
Okay.
It's like the direction is solid, but there's nothing besides like trying to look like you're in a tank, which actually reminded me of how they filmed The Descent when they weren't actually in a cage.
Oh, what a good one. Which was that?
The acting, the writing, it's all solid, but nothing stands out as like, wow, this film did this super well, which surprises me because I really did like this film, but I can't think of something I would call out as artistic.
I'm going to go with yes, because I think that at least like the idea of just recording the outside world through a limited camera, the idea is good. The execution, I think that is like pretty wishy-washy. I think that is that you cannot get a camera like just directly, do whatever the fuck you want with it, and then just doing like some metallic noises and just say it's like this is the crosshair, this is the telescope of the tank. It's like you don't get away with that, but the idea I think that is artistic. If it's good or not, for me, is not properly executed.
What do you think about it's not the final scene where we see the tank out from outside, but do you remember the second to final scene?
Well, they're on that temple and they're running away or something.
No, the prisoner of war they have asked to use the bathroom, and it happens in real time.
So they open the box.
For me, I don't want to give away spoilers, but for me, the fact that they did that in real time and you just saw the demoralization of both of those men and how pointless all this shit was, I was like, wow, that is a killer second to final scene. I was curious if it stood out to you or not.
It felt awkward, that kind of thing, but definitely I won't remember that scene.
Okay, that's fair.
I won't, because even like the awkwardness, I just felt a bit weird. Like the guy that was like the Arab guy, sorry, he was Syrian, the Syrian guy. That he was like just from time to time like staring to the other guy, and the other guy was like just trying to avoid any kind of eye contact. And I feel like, is he flirting with him?
Also, the fact that he got morphine as a prisoner of war, I was like, can I?
Do you think that this is a timeless piece?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, on that, I agree. I think that the topics of war, they're always like remaining there. I mean, this is a story narrated, like 27 years after like that specific conflict. And I think that it captures like some of that cruelty of the situation.
Yep.
Would you turn this into a TV show?
No, I would turn it into a play. But I think the length is right, especially for what he was trying to do of just this tiny space. It was as long as I thought it should be. I think it would lose more if it tried to have a wider scope of what it was addressing.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that this can actually just be like transferring to anything else but the stage. And I felt it's like it would be like a very interesting, a bit avant-garde kind of play. You could actually just play in one of those like small theaters with 50 people in the audience. Is that maybe this will work? Maybe this would be like just a bit more like this intimate kind of feeling. You could elevate the idea. Turning into a TV show, it could be like just probably putting too much budget into it.
Interesting. There's a playhouse here in San Francisco that focuses on either works about the Middle East or works written by people in the Middle East, and it's a really good. Like the stuff they put on is excellent. And I'm like, I kind of want to ask them to do this.
What is it called?
It's in Potrero. I'll send it to you.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I think that you told me about it. You told me it was like just not that far where you used to do. Yeah.
Before the pandemic shut everything down. So.
Yeah. Do you think this movie could have been better?
This is feedback that I almost never feel. And I don't want people to think that the low budget detracts from the experience. But I do feel like with maybe a couple more $1 million, this could have been visually more compelling. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's also, yes, I told you that it's like, hey, you're going to be like just doing this, is that you have to commit to it. And you cannot get away with like just putting like a crosshair, like on editing on top of whatever the heck you wanted to shoot. Because you had to do this properly if you wanted to work. So, yeah. So before we score these, last week I actually asked you remember Bottle Rocket? Any movie that you want to ask if I remember?
Yes. And while I think of that film, I just wanted to call out one fact that I found really interesting, that this was the writer-director. It's his first film. Came out in 2009, and he didn't release another drama until 2017. Interesting, man.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
I would like to hear what you remember about The Science of Sleep.
It's funny because when we watch 9 Days, I started remembering like all the Michel Gondry movies, and I thought a lot about Be Kind, Rewind. I also thought about like The Science of Sleep, and The Science of Sleep follows Gael Garcia Bernal. I know. As he was in a copy place, they made photocopies, and the guy, the what?
I had forgotten that.
Yeah. So the guy basically mixes up reality with sleep. So everything in his house is like a bit weird, and if you apply the kind of right imagination, you can just be almost like in a dream world. And the movie is about like his relationship with his neighbor that just moved in, if I recall correctly, and how he falls in love with her and how he tries to just like get her attention and just lure her into that world of dream and fantasy.
And at the end, he doesn't get the girl, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, he doesn't. He scares her.
All I remember was that he came to Paris to live, and there was a love interest. That's all I got.
No, I think that's fine. I mean, I watched it a couple of times in any case. And do you remember like that scene when they're in the copy place and the dream is that he has like giant hands?
It sounds vaguely familiar now, but I don't remember it very
Yeah,
well.
it's almost like a proto scene compared to the Everything Everywhere All at Once
Shut
of the
up, I
hot dog
knew you were
fingers.
We get it. You didn't like that film. That great film.
Let's see if you remember in a year, dude. Let's see. Because it's going to be a fun conversation. Okay, should we score Lebanon?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, as this was your pick, I have to score first, and my score is going to be a 6.5.
Mine lowered a bit from this conversation, and I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Okay. Oh, so not that different from each other. I like it. I mean, I like it. I didn't dislike it. You know, I think that it was a bit more of one of those things about like, this could have been better. I mean, but it's like you have to be like more honest about like what you're trying to do. Otherwise, it's what you said. Is like, is it a device or a gimmick? And for me, it was like a gimmick in an hour and a half. That is like,
Yeah.
it's a bit tired.
And that difference is just completely subjective. So
No, of course, you know, it's like this is what cinema is. It's like, and I was thinking about it. It's like, I hate that after watching so many movies, you can identify how the sausage was made, you know. And as you know how it was made, is that you have to apply like more suspension of disbelief. You have to just change from the I'm going to be like the cynical reviewer, like just looking at this, into the I'm just here for the ride. And the problem is like on this one, for me, like just being for the ride, it requires like way too much.
that's fair. I respect that.
I mean, so as this was your pick, I guess that I had to pick the movie up for this time. And as we haven't been going to the cinema for a tiny bit, I think that it's time to just go to see like something recent. Probably when this podcast comes out, this movie could be in VHS or on Betamax, who knows. But yeah, next time we're going to be talking about Men by Alex Garland, another A24 movie.
You love to love and hate A24.
Yeah, and you know that half of our conversation next time is going to be about A24. Not about the movie, about A24. What?
Looking forward to it.
Okay. And to those 10, 5, I don't know how many people listening to us, thank you so much for listening. Anything else?
I'm not going to tell you to wash your hands, but if you're listening, go look up the Golden Lion winners of all time. Let us know what we should watch, because I can't name one off the top of my head.
Okay, no, we should do that exercise. Okay, bye.